How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. Indiana homecoming, 38 to 13 winners over Michigan State on a game that was delayed by some lightning. That it continues to rain real heavily here. I want to first off start by just thanking IU for allowing me to saving me from the rain essentially because it is coming down really heavily, and I really appreciate them giving me some space here high atop Memorial Stadium to be able to bring you the show. 812-393-2600 is the number to talk about this ball game. The Hoosiers got off to a bit of a slow start, but stepped on the gas. We're able to go ahead and roll, and Indiana um, just was able to dominate. 812-393-2600. The Hoosiers are 7-0 on the season, and with Miami of Florida losing yesterday, by all rights, should be the number two team in the country when the rankings come out on Monday. I've been very clear about how I'm not a huge fan of rankings, but it is what it is. We already got a caller on the line, so let's go ahead and get right to him. Caller, if I have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Ken, I'm Hooperati's favorite bartender. I love to smoke a celebratory cigar with you tonight. Hey, how about them Hoosiers night?
What can you say about him? I mean, it just and you know it just continues to roll in such a big way. Indiana scores on every possession, save for one, and even on that one on fourth down, they were a quarter inch away from a touchdown on that one.
Yeah,
It's an incredible job.
Hey,
it is.
hey, Ken, what if I told you tonight that Mendoza would have the same amount of incompletions as he did touchdowns? What would you think about that?
Yeah, you know what? That is absolutely incredible. Mendoza, 24 of 28, 332, and four tutties. And again, it could have been five. It's just by a quarter inch.
Right?
Just really incredible.
Absolutely. We lived in their backfield. We lived in it, but I don't think we was as aggressive tonight as what we were last week, which I understand that. Didn't have to be. But unbelievable. 7-0. Just think, 3.5, 3 years ago, we were all sitting there talking about just getting to a bowl, you know, and look at us talking 12-0.
Well, again, I on the call-in show that I did Monday night, it took me until 50 minutes, 50 minutes into the show to mention the fact that Indiana was bowl eligible. And there was a time not so long ago that we were hunting for 6 wins, and now
Yeah,
it has been so impressive that you don't even really notice that they are bowl eligible. It is different times here at IU, to say the least. Just an unbelievable atmosphere. A lot of people left at halftime due to the weather, which this one I understand because it was some bad weather. But boy, this was a hell of a game. This is something that it was really impressive to watch.
it's beautiful, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, we appreciate everything you do, man. Listen to you religiously, and we set up today real close to you so we could get there tonight and just talk to you live. But we had to leave because of well, we just now left.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean,
anyway,
yeah, there was no way I was going to be. I was concerned about this before the game started, and when just looking at the weather
sure.
report about doing this outside. But really happy Indiana was able to get this win.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be back up here for the Wisconsin game, so maybe we'll hook up next to you and have one of them cigars I know you like.
That sounds great. I appreciate it.
See ya.
Take care. 812-393-2600 is the number. The Hoosiers, come out a little bit slow out of the first quarter. They led 7-3 after one quarter, but then they just started stacking wins. Wins on the field, I should say, stacking wins to where drive after drive after drive. Indiana's offense. 464 yards on the day, 332 yards passing, 132 yards running. Kalon Black, 10 carries for 64 yards. And this is something that we can't overlook, is the fact that Indiana is getting the job done uh, offensively without relying too much on any one guy. It makes it so difficult to cover this team because Kalon Black 10 carries 64 yards, Kobe Martin 6 carries 40 yards, Roman Hemby 6 carries 11 yards, Cooper 8 receptions for 115 yards and a touchdown, EJ Williams 5 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown, Surratt 4 catches 70 yards, a couple of touchdowns. I mean, it is just really who you're going to cover, who you're going to take care of, and then defensively, look. Indiana now on the season is 7-0. They have allowed 6 offensive touchdowns on the season. This is the fourth time Indiana has held a team I believe it is, well, they got to 13. So it was going to be fourth time this year that they got to 10 or fewer points on the game. You had the late field goal, which screwed some people that were gambling, but, and got the spread at the wrong time. But boy, I tell you what, this is an IU football team that came to play and a little bit of a slow start, a little bit of a different kind of pass coverage than I think that we've seen before. Michigan State did throw for 243 yards, stacked some long drives early. If you look at the scoring drives, the first couple that Michigan State had, 13 carries for 55 yards, took up 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Second possession for Michigan State, 12 carries for 75 yards, and took up 8 minutes and 18 seconds. So the Hoosiers made Michigan State battle for it, but they were able to take care of business. And that is what is important because Indiana's offense was as good as it was. This game turned on a 2-for-1 opportunity right before the half. Indiana scored, got the ball back after halftime, scored again, took control, and never looked back. And that's how you get to 7-0. 812-393-2600 is the number. The lines are open. We'll be hearing from head coach Kurt Signetti in just a little bit with a new contract. That is something that uh, can't say enough about how great it is that the Hoosiers were able to get that job done. All the questions about where Kurt Signetti is going to be, if he's going to be leaving, going to this school or that school, we could put all of that to rest. He's going to be at Indiana, he says, until he retires, and certainly has a contract that's going to pay him he deserves it. And to me, that is uh, just gives such great stability for a program that so desperately needed stability. You know, Indiana has gone through coaches every couple of years. Basically since I got here to cover the team. But since Bill Mallory, I mean, you were bouncing from Cam Cameron to Jerry DiNardo to Terry Hepner, who passed away, obviously, Bill Lynch to Kevin Wilson to Tom Allen. I mean, it just every couple of years you have a new regime coming in. Signetti's been here for 2 years. Uh, he's 18-2, has yet to lose at home. Indiana with a 13-game home winning streak. Uh, they've won a full season and a bowl worth of games consecutively at home. It's just remarkable how this program has changed and how quickly it has changed. Again, 812-393-2600 is the number. Lines are open. I want to hear from you in the chat. Robert Swartz says any win is a good win, but MSU sure seemed to be able to carve out big chunks of yardage. They couldn't score as a saving grace, so we call those Bill Lynch wins because that's the bend but don't break. Hold them to a field goal. Now, that said, Michigan State only scored 13 points. You know, scored on their first 2 drives and then were shut down until the very last drive when they kicked a nothing field goal. So when you're talking about those kind of things happening, uh, it's hard to get upset about what it was that Indiana's defense was going to do. Now that said, I understand where you're coming from because when it comes to chunk plays, Michigan State had 8 of them. Chunk plays are passes for 15 plus yards and rushes for 10 plus. Only 2 10 plus yard runs. One of them a 64-yard run by Adrian Childs, the quarterback for Michigan State. That happened early in the fourth quarter. And then you have an 11-yard run, but 8 passing plays of 15 plus yards, all of them between 15 and 22 yards or 23 yards. So they kept it pretty tight, but still, it was an impressive job by Indiana to keep them out of the end zone. But again, those chunks are there. And actually, Kurt Signetti said in his post-game press conference that there are some things that the defense has on tape that they're not going to be real pleased to see when the time comes to watch this tape tomorrow and on Monday, and as they prepare for UCLA next week. It was uh, a complete game by the Hoosiers. Hoosier on the chat says Hoosier 0 says it felt like IU should have won by 50. Um, they could have very easily had 45 points, missed a touchdown by a heel, and that could have been a fifth touchdown pass from Fernando Mendoza. Caller earlier had a great point that Indiana Mendoza had as many incompletions as he did touchdown passes this game. And this only reinforces the discussion about him being the leader in the Heisman Trophy race because he's just doing it week after week after week and making just incredible throws, accurate as can be. His development has been fantastic to see. And so, as he has continued, it has been really impressive to see him develop and just the efficiency at which he works and the growing patience he has in the pocket. I think is another big part of this because earlier in the year he was a little bit of happy feet he had there, but he doesn't have that anymore, and he has been very very impressive to say the least. 812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, you people don't want to hear from me. I want to hear from you. That's where we're going to. Don't get content. It's raining like hell outside. I can tell you that. Uh, Before we talk more about the game and get a chance to bring up Kurt Signetti's post game press conference, I did want to talk a little bit more about Signetti's uh, contract extension that he received. There have been some people in the media, Paul Feinbaum in particular, who says that Indiana made a mistake or this was not warranted. And what I will say about that attitude is anybody who feels that way about IU football, two things. One, they don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to Indiana football, and that their only perspective is Indiana is bad, and I'm not changing that despite what my eyes show because the past 2 years have been fantastic. He has earned every damn dime. He's coached here for 20 games and has gotten his second contract extension. So for Feinbaum or anybody else who says that Indiana is jumping the gun on this thing because they haven't beaten whoever, which to Feinbaum is anybody who's not in the SEC. That's what he means. He doesn't know a damn thing about Indiana football. And the bottom line is Indiana has made an investment in their future with a guy who could lead them a long way. And the Hoosiers are going to benefit from it. It gives so much, just so much uh, stability, so much stability for this program, and I think it's going to be fun to watch, to say the least. 812-393-2600 is the number. We're going to be hearing from Kurt Signetti here in just a few minutes. Um, on the chat, JM City says the PTSD, Cameron DiNardo all the way to Allen. That's why even with SIG, I have to watch until the clock says 0 to celebrate a Hoosier win. Oh, I get it. I get it. Trust me. There's you are. I mean, it's scar tissue. I mean, it's just that simple. It is scar tissue because that is no other way to put it. It's scar tissue because we've seen some things over the years, and it hasn't always, been pleasant to watch, to say the least. 812-393-2600 is the number. I'm going to bring up Signetti's press conference here so that you guys could hear what he had to say. And hopefully we'll get to you on the other side of his presser. So here's
All right, good win coming off, that big road win last week. We all are aware of the potential issues you're dealing with there, and I thought the team and the staff did a good job, really focusing in on this next opponent and the challenge that it could present. I thought Michigan State played really hard, and offensively they've got some weapons, Our offense was sharp. You know, we were throwing the football. Fernando, you know, was on point. Protection was good. Receivers were separating and making plays. And, you know, the defense held them to a field goal there at the end of the second quarter. Drive before the 2-minute drive. Stopped them on the 2-minute drive. And then we punched that first drive in the third quarter, which I felt like if we did that, that would be a real blow to them. And defense really shut them out till the end. You know, we kind of emptied the bench a little bit, so to speak. But it's a good win, and enjoy it. You know, we're going to enjoy it and get ready for the next one.
Zach on your left and Ms.
You talked about Fernando, and I know every quarterback will always have things to clean up, but I don't think you do. Sack today is 24th, 28th. Is that kind of when you watched film of him, what you thought he'd be capable of once he cleaned up some of the things that you talked about in the offseason, the timing, the comfort, the trust and protection?
Well, I think it was a really good performance by him. You know, Michigan State's given up some points this year, let's face it. And, you know, he had time and our guys were separating and he was throwing the ball on rhythm. And, you know, there's other games like Oregon, you don't have nearly as much time. And you're not always separating as much. So it's all relative sometimes. But I would say this is the sharpest, you know, we've seen him up to this point, you know, in a game. But he continues to improve. He continues to prepare like nobody I've ever been around. And he's getting better and better.
Ms. on your left and Ravi.
In terms of Omar Cooper and Omar Ryan, from an offensive coach perspective, you know that defenses are going to try to game plan out and focus on them. They've accounted for nearly 60% of your targets. The difficulty level for them as receivers to still get open, to still counter those game plans. How difficult is what they're doing right now?
Well, you know, you can kind of like focus in on one guy, but it's hard to focus in on two. Because, you know, if you're 3-by-1, that guy might be number 3, number 2, number 1 of the field or into the bench. So you can focus in on one guy, but it's really difficult to focus in on two. But like there's other guys that make plays, like Riley Nowakowski. How many big plays has he made in the past game? And E.J. Williams, obviously, is a threat. And then, you know, some of the Charlie Beckers make plays. Hemby's made some big plays in the past game. And then you got to deal with Fernando's feet. You know, if he works up into the pocket. So you can't really focus on one guy.
Ravi on your left and Matt Weaver.
Yeah, Coach, assuming I'm doing math here correctly, Mendoza, 21 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. When the guy's ratio is like that, the reason for it is what? And you look at, you know, quarterbacks, you see that level of play, and you think what?
Well, you know, I think he's done a good job. He's smart. He understands how to play quarterback. See, before you win any game, you got to make sure you don't lose it, right? And he protects the ball. He checks it down when it's not there. He knows when he can take a sack, when he can't take a sack, and he's accurate. And he's making good reads. So, you know, that only puts him a little bit behind Cole Johnson, my second quarterback at JMU, who I think was 44-4 touchdowns, interceptions, which would be 22-2. You said 21-2?
21-2 right now, yeah.
No, but
And the other guy was...
he keeps building, I think, on his previous performances. And I can't say no good things about him.
Matt on your right and Pete.
Coach, early on, their offense kind of had you guys a little bit on your heels. You know, they were getting involved to run those screen plays. We got some yards, but you guys kept them off the scoreboard. What do you like about the adjustments your defense made as the game went along?
I thought near the end of the second quarter we really tightened up in the second half, except for that last drive, and started putting pressure on the quarterback. And I've always thought they got good design at Michigan State offensively. They can protect with 8, 7, 6, 5. Out-of-pocket game, good screen game, great play-action game, and the quarterback is extremely talented. So is number 6. And so I'm sure that defense will put the tape on tomorrow, and they'll be displeased with some things early in the game.
Peter on your right and Seth.
Coach over here, just the way Lou Moore has continued to play right now, he led you again in tackles, just the way he's played.
Yeah, played a lot of football, leading tackler, interceptions. Left us, came back, right? Um, and he's a veteran, got a nose for the ball, instinct, and I think he's having fun.
Seth on your left and Daniel.
Kurt, when you say Fernando prepares like no one you've been around, what does that look like? Like, what is he doing during the week that's so above and beyond in your eyes?
I think it's time, organization, and smart use of time, proper preparation, smart use of time. And, you know, he wants to be a great player. And, you know, that never seen anybody really quite jump like that before.
Daniel in front and Zach B.
On a mentality point, at what point in the week were you confident that you had your team in the right spot?
I think it was starting to flip a little bit after Thursday after practice. I sent him a good message. I thought it was flipping our way Friday. You know, there were, look, you can't be a real nice guy when you have a job like mine. You know what I mean? Sometimes you know when they're going to be ready to play. And then sometimes, you know, the entire organization, right? What Mike Krzyzewski say when he retired. He said, the toughest opponent he's ever faced was human nature. Well, human nature after winning against Oregon is to be happy and relax, and right? Support staff, coaches, players, right? Trainers. So, you know, my job is to make sure they got the right mindset ready to play. And, you know, it's not always fun, but you got to do what you got to do.
Zach B in front will represent.
You've talked a lot about battling through adversity with the uniqueness of the slightly longer halftime and the weather. How do you think your team handled that and came out in the second half?
I thought we handled it really well. The staff had experience with it at Virginia when I was at JMU last year. We were down 10 with 8 minutes ago, and that happened. We ended up utilizing it, I thought, really well, and came back and won the game.
Zach Westman.
I guess, Kurt, you talked about, you know, the defense might see some things on film, especially early in the game, they didn't love from this game. I think it's 7 defensive touchdowns you allowed in 8 games now. What is it about that group that, whatever the challenge is, they just kind of outlast opponents? Obviously, sometimes you get a lot of sacks, sometimes, like a day like today, maybe it takes a little longer to kind of figure it out. But what is it about that group that just they constantly solve that problem?
Well, you know, I think, first of all, they're well coached, and they attack people. And we've got a lot of veteran players, and we've got great leadership, and we've got good players, and the leaders are really good players. And we've had young guys sort of develop for us, like up front and side. And look at Isaiah Jones' development at linebacker and Hardy, besides Fisher, right? And I think the secondary is really, you know, outside of Pawns, you know, who's an All-American. You know, you've seen Sharp really step up and start to make plays in the safeties, too. So, there's a lot of pride there, and you know, we've got to get better from this last game, right? We're going to get tougher down here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So there's Kurt Signetti during his post-game press conference. You know, Sig talks a little bit about how his team wasn't where he wanted them to be mentally until about later in the week. But really, that's what you want your team to be able to lock in later on, and he gets there. And this win was important just to overcome any kind of idea that there would be a hangover after that Oregon game, because this Hoosier ball club, you know, being able to stack success hasn't always been a strength of Indiana football. And the fact that they are able to do this and they continue to change that culture, I think is really, really important. 812-393-2600 is the number. Again, high atop Memorial Stadium. Really appreciate IU giving me a chance to get out of the weather tonight. Otherwise, this would have been a more difficult show to do. On the chat, JM, I don't know, what is that? JMCL1FY. He says, we get a lot of calls on the field now that we're winning we didn't get before. Buck pointed this out on the radio call. I'm still getting used to this as a longtime IU football fan. I want to talk about that very thing because I believe it was, what was the score? It was the score by, not Black, might have been the EJ Williams score that he was right in the first score. They looked at it, and me and Matt Weaver sitting there watching it. uh, that he scored, and I thought, ooh, he might be a little bit short, and they gave Indiana the touchdown. And I looked at Weaver, and I'm like, oh my God, is IU that team now? That's going to start getting some of these calls, and that's amazing if it is. Look, all of this is really, really difficult to wrap your head around. All of it. Think about how far we've come as fans, as an IU football program, from the end of the Tom Allen era to where IU football is now. You're talking about a team that's just hunting 6 wins for decades. Decades. And now Kurt Signetti comes in 20 games later with a 13-game winning streak at home. The head coach has lost one regular season game to the eventual national champion. Only 2 games overall. The other game was to the eventual runner-up. 7-0. You have given up 6 offensive touchdowns on the season. 6 in 7 games. You're giving up less than an offensive touchdown per game. Oregon scores one offensive touchdown. The other one came on a pick six, and that's it. And 2 of those offensive touchdowns, by the way, came against Old Dominion on some early busts, or on 2 busts. One I think in the first half, one I think in the second half. But that's it. And so quickly, Indiana has become a program that expects to win on Saturdays, and that is completely a function of Kurt Signetti. That's why, again, this extension, the money that makes him the third highest paid coach in college football, worth every damn dime. And then when it comes to his assistants, at this point, guys who are assistants who might have an opportunity to go forward and go and take over as a head coach at this program or that program, you have to take a second and think, do I really want to do that? Because, yeah, you want to move up in your coaching career. But that said, uh, this is becoming a very, very nice destination. You're getting the resources you wanted. It's pretty nice. 812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, let's see. Robert Schwartz says, yeah, IU does get more of those benefit of the doubt calls that you ignored. You see more penalty calls that used to be missed. It's a new feeling. It is. All of it is. Indiana on the game, by the way, official stats, uh, the Hoosiers with 1 penalty for 5 yards. Michigan State was called 6 penalties for 46 yards. Indiana with 24 first downs on the day. They were 5 of 8 on third down. Ran 6 fewer plays than Michigan State and gained 96 more yards. Every time Indiana snapped the ball, they averaged 8.3 yards. Pretty damn good. Averaging 4.7 yards a rush. And wins the ball game by 4 touchdowns, uh, despite the fact they had the ball for 2.5 fewer minutes. 9 tackles for loss on the day. It's impressive. All of it is impressive. Uh, and it really is in that context of the historical context that goes into all of this. Against this very Michigan State team, I think in 2006, I watched Indiana throw a 98-yard touchdown pass that resulted in 2 points for Michigan State because IU was called for a holding in the end zone prior to the pass. It's a long way since then. And Indiana continued to win and continued to progress despite the fact that you had the rain, you had the lightning delay, which thankfully wasn't that long, but you had the lightning delay that the place didn't deflate. The fans that were still here were still into it. The Hoosiers didn't feel a lack of energy and continued to build their own energy. That was important too. And you heard Signetti talk about how his team dealt with that delay in a little bit of a different way than maybe they have before. Uh, just an impressive job by that coaching staff to get everybody on the same page. And that to me is what is so exciting for all of this. There's uh, some people that have looked at Indiana and are looking for any reason why uh, they shouldn't respect what is happening here in Bloomington. And when it comes to all of this, you got to believe your lion eyes. You are seeing exactly what it is uh, that can be done when you have the resources, when you have the coaching and everything that goes along with it. You're seeing what's possible. 812-393-2600 is the number. Hoosier dash zero says any prediction for the UCLA game time. We'll find out Monday, but it really depends on television and if they want to have the big college big noon college game or whatever it is, which is a possibility, especially when you're talking about a UCLA team that has pulled off some upsets of late. Uh, Actually I don't even know what UCLA did yet today. Look, they're playing Maryland right now. They're up 7-3 in the second quarter, early second quarter. So you have that. But by the time they they play, there's a real possibility, real chance that Indiana is going to be the number 2 team in the country, and they should be because that's how the polls work. You win and the team in front of you loses, you should move up and move to 7-0. They got 3 first place votes last week. Miami got 13 of them. Ohio State beat the hell out of Wisconsin today, and so that is not unexpected, but still, they got that done. Uh, it'll be interesting to see if Indiana garners more of these first place votes. Guessing they might not. That a lot of those will just go to Ohio State because they weren't split with Miami. But tell you what, Indiana, you set them up, Indiana's going to knock them down, and that has been how things have gone. You have this now is the 6th straight game in which Indiana uh, has given up one or fewer offensive touchdowns in a game. Oregon scored 20 points, scored one offensive touchdown, had that pick six. Iowa scores 15 points. Illinois just 10. Indiana State 0. Kennesaw State 9. It's just jaw dropping what Indiana has been able to to accomplish this year. Just incredible. JM Cliffy? I don't know how do you pronounce that. I need him. He says no more Peacock games, please. I got it for the Iowa Michigan State games, but don't disrespect number 2 Indiana and put their games behind a paywall. Everybody's TV does what TV does. Indiana football may not have the ratings of some of the bigger programs historically, but I agree with you. You want to be able to really build that footprint for Indiana and build that fan base. They're winning. They're fun to watch, and to me, it's a sign of a new era of college football as well. NIL balances the playing field a little bit and gives you opportunities that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have had as a team, as a fan base, all of it. It's really incredible. 812-393-2600 is the number. I'm going to admit, I'm a little surprised we haven't gotten more phone calls tonight because this has been, it's raining and all that kind of stuff. I get it. And there are exciting games. Alabama and Tennessee are playing right now. They're in the first quarter. Uh, but when you look at where the Hoosiers are going over the next couple of weeks, uh, we got UCLA here next week. Then they go on the road at Maryland, at Penn State. The Penn State game is going to be it's a concern of mine. Just because Penn State at some point could just wake up. But we'll see if Indiana plays like they did today and plays the way that they have all season. They're going to be absolutely deserving of everything that comes their way. But uh, this is a team tied for first place in the Big Ten. Has a clear path to going 12-0, and that is something that that is just incredible, absolutely incredible. Got another caller? Caller, if I have your name, where you're from, and what you got. Are you there, caller?
Hey, sorry about that, Ken. Hey, good. You know, this is crazy, but how you can say that, but living in the reality. I think the 66 the nothing beating up for me that we gave them.
Having a real tough time hearing you, caller. Yeah, I think we lost him. Yeah, we did. Damn it. All right, hopefully he'll call back. Would love to hear from him. You know, this is a let's see. Robert Schwartz says, if you're of a certain age, I remember the only time we got to see IU play was against OSU or Michigan, or if they were playing a highly ranked team. Yeah, I remember a time, once upon a time, where Indiana played in the old Oaken Bucket game and they didn't televise it. And it wasn't crazy long ago either. It was, I mean, well, now, hell, aging myself is probably 25 years ago, but still, that was something that happened. Something that happened. And that is all gone now. All of that is gone. And my question for you guys is how long until we get used to this? Do we ever get used to it? Look, winning at this level is just it's all house money. I said last year that this was a um, as good as it was going to get because there were zero expectations last year, zero, and everything that happened was new and exciting. It still feels that way though, doesn't it? That every week it feels new and exciting and like something that we haven't seen before, mainly because we really haven't. This is historic that we're living here. It is just so much fun to be a part of and be on this side of it. You know, somebody said in the chat earlier that the IU coaches that I mentioned earlier, you know, Cam Cameron, Jared DiNardo, and uh, Hep, Bill Lynch, that they all lost some close games. Uh, and they did, and that is, you know, the Oregon game last week, the Iowa game 2 weeks ago, are perfect examples of games that in the past Indiana might not have been able to pull out, and now they just have the confidence and win and go out and knock it out, and it's really impressive to watch. 812-393-2600 is the number. Certainly hope everybody's being safe going home. Would love to hear from you. If we don't get some calls, we'll go ahead and we'll shut this down a little bit earlier. Um, Part of this too is that you know a bunch of fans left at halftime and moved on with their day, which I understand completely. But Robert on the chat, don't know about others, but I still struggle to wrap my head around all of this. That is my takeaway. Is it has been an incredible ride, and this is how the other half has lived for a long time. And again, I mentioned earlier about that path to 12-0. You got UCLA at home next week. UCLA obviously has been up and down this year. Trip to Maryland. Maryland 4-2, so they're not a pushover, but Indiana also has been very good. The trip to Penn State is that trap that I am still looking at and concerned about. Wisconsin is Wisconsin, but Wisconsin ain't your daddy's Wisconsin. They're 0-4 and 2-5 on the season. And then you have Purdue, which is an absolute mess. That game is going to be on NBC and Peacock on November 28th. That's a Friday game. So heads up with that. Got another caller? Caller, if I can have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Sorry, we got cut off early before, but I was just curious. I know it's been a couple years. Curious. win the Big Ten. IU makes it championship with Ohio State. What at some point pointing we making it championship? I mean, obviously we want to beat Ohio State, but what point differential is with like 10 versus 20, 30? I mean, obviously we want to make. I mean, at what point does it get disappointing if we make the Big Ten championship game? It's a crazy question. I know this is pretty silly, but curious your thoughts. At what point do things get disappointing if we don't win a Big Ten championship game? That's where we're at right now. We're talking about this. Appreciate your call. Thank you. Bye.
I appreciate it. That's a little bit hard to hear on my end, but basically he was saying, if they end up playing Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, at what point does it become disappointing if they don't win that game? He's like, and it's a crazy concept, but at what point does it become a disappointment? My answer is this. Getting to the Big Ten championship game, which Indiana absolutely has a path to, is not the goal, but it's just the next game. And I think that that if you get for this Indiana football program, for them to get to the Big Ten championship would obviously be huge and be a really big day because Indiana's playing Louisville and Indianapolis for basketball that day at 2:00. Big Ten championship game is at 8, so it'd be a bananas day. But um, we're at the point now, though, that the Hoosiers are, just rolling over people. So the next time they lose, and let's face it, eventually they will lose sometime, be it this year, next year, whenever it is, uh, they will lose, and that is going to be disappointing because you got a really good winning streak going right now, and there's a lot of things going very, very right for Indiana football. So it would be disappointing, and it is bananas to say, just the idea that if you get there and you don't win it, it'll be really disappointing. But to me, we're playing with house money at this point. The goal isn't just to get to the Big Ten championship game, and the reason is that last year you went to the college football playoffs and you got experience playing in that environment, and that is really, really important. Really, really important to be able to lean on that experience from last year of playing in the college football playoff. You throw in the fact that if they would get to the Big Ten championship game and if they would be playing Ohio State, again, all very important ifs here. The one regular season loss that the Hoosiers have faced under Curt Signetti to this point was a trip to Ohio State that Indiana lost 38-15. And you could bet your ass that Sig would really lean on that for the guys that have been here. He would have them fired up. He would have them there. Indiana, the best part about all of this is Indiana has played with a huge chip on their shoulders from day one of the Curt Signetti era. Huge chip on their shoulders, and it hasn't gone away. Nor do I expect it to go away anytime soon. So it would definitely be disappointing. As crazy as that is, you get spoiled real quick. But you see the path, you see the excitement, and to me, that's what is really exciting. 812-393-2600 is the number. Robert says here again, the 67 Rose Bowl, the 79 Holiday Bowl, Mallory's run, Tom Allen's win over Penn State and Michigan. Until now, those were the bright spots I remember. Well, look, last year was without question the best season in IU football history. Yeah, the 45 team went undefeated. Yeah, you had the Rose Bowl season. 45 team didn't have face masks. It's not modern football. 67, they tied for a Big Ten championship and got to go to the Rose Bowl because Purdue had gone the year before. So last year was the best. This is shaping up to be even better. We got another caller. Caller, have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken, this is Ryan from Bloomington. How you doing?
Hey, Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, man. I got a question for you, and it involves Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt. I think they've got to be considered the the best wide receiver duo in the Big Ten, if not all of college football. And I just want to know your thoughts on how they complement each other, number one, and also number two, if you think they are both either day one or day two draft picks coming up at the end of this year.
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, in terms of how they complement each other, what they really do between the two of them and EJ Williams, uh, the fact that they are both on the field and can do so much with the ball and so explosive, it really stresses a defense because you can't concentrate on any one guy. Because Surratt gets 121 yards or whatever he had against Oregon last week, and then you have Cooper with 8 catches for 115 yards today. I mean, pick your poison on that thing. And so that compliment is really, really impressive. The fact that they've been able to do what they have been able to do with different quarterbacks has been really important as well. Because last year it was Curtis Rourke, and they were both very effective. This year, Mendoza's been playing out of his mind. So there's that. And I really think that their draft stock will just continue to grow as they build. Both of them have proved that they are big time players who can make big time catches when they need it. And so, they've been playing a long time. There's plenty of film on them. They're explosive. I really think both of them have that opportunity. A lot of the times, when you're talking about day one or day two draft picks, how they work out, how they go through their pro day, all of that kind of stuff matters as well. But just on the field tape, I think that they've done quite a bit to raise the eyebrows of scouts.
For sure, man. I mean, I think Signetti said it really well. He was talking about in that post game press conference like you had on earlier, saying it's hard enough to focus on one really good receiver, but when you have two of them, that's really just about impossible to defend against. And just super happy to have him on the team. But my one more thing is, I just got to say, super excited for the Maryland post game, man. That should be a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. I'm really really looking forward to that. We're gonna have a special edition of the Peegs post game live. A lot of special guests, including probably you, for sure, if you want. So I'm looking forward to having it on. You mentioned again. Cooper and Surratt on the touchdown pass to Williams in the first quarter. Mendoza had two different options on that because Cooper was open as well. Williams was open, or he could have tucked it and ran it. And his legs, Mendoza's legs, all of this puts so much stress on a defense, and that's why Indiana has just been so tough to defend.
Sure does, man. Thanks for doing the show as always. Have a good night.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks a lot. Love the phone calls. 812-393-2600 is the number. JM says, hope it's not too much success too soon. How will our fan base react to 8-4, 9-3 seasons if we play OSU, Michigan, and other top teams and we lose some close games? Before six wins was a success at IU. Yeah, no, that's part of it, but that's why you coach it, right? That's it, to raise those expectations. That's what you're shooting for. So yeah, I mean it's a good question. And next year, not hell, we are 7 games into this year with a lot of football left to be played. But when you're talking about the future, Indiana and Kurt Signetti have shown that they could win with different guys at quarterback, and that's really important. Different guys at running back, and that's very important. Uh, Bringing in guys that that are different than Aiden Fisher, Mikael Kamara, D'Angelo Pons, those kind of guys. Replacing them is going to show that it is sustainable. But we know from what Kurt Signetti did at James Madison and so quickly here that it's not a plug and play situation, but he knows how to evaluate talent and identify talent. And so next year will be critical to prove that you could keep it up. And so yeah, there is that, but so is this year. This year was that same way. Think about the 2020 season where Tom Allen they go 6-1, I think 6-2 on the season, 6-2. That was coming off the 8-5 year from the year before, 6-2, and then you had 2021 where the bottom fell out. So that is is something that we have to keep an eye on as well. But keeping it going, I think, is really, really important. Going to make a last call for phone calls, 812-393-2600. Reed says, I'm coming from Atlanta to see you post UCLA. Get the headset ready. Hopefully, we'll have great weather for that. And we're going to be set up outside the tennis center with my little tent. My new table. I bought a new table for this. Didn't get to use it today, but have a new table. Everything is, and I'm really excited. Um, Robert also says, until Signetti, how many 0-1-2-3 win seasons did we suffer through? Suffer is the right word because that's how it was. And the fact that that is so much in the recent past, and now Indiana is poised to be the number 2 team in the country is just extraordinary. We had a 3-win season just 2 years ago, and one of those wins was against Indiana State, an FCS team. Had a quadruple overtime win over Akron. That, if I remember that correctly, Akron had that opportunity to win and didn't. And then we beat Illinois in overtime, giving up 45 points along the way. So we are a long way from where that was, to say the least. It's fun, isn't it? Trying to see that quarterback for that team, by the way, was Brendan Sorsby, who is the quarterback at Cincinnati now. He's 14 touchdowns, 1 interception, which is good. It's not Fernando Mendoza good, because as you heard on that press conference, Jeff Rabjohns was asking the question about Mendoza's numbers and how just crazy they are. How about what are his numbers on the year? How about 133 of 181 for that's a 73% completion percentage for 1,755 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's why he's getting the Heisman attention. Is it the greatest Heisman class of all time? No, but that's why he's getting this attention. He's just been absolutely incredible. Schwartz says, yes, Akron missed a field goal that would have won that game in overtime. That's what I thought was interesting. He also says a lot of the current players will be gone after this season. Next season may be the adjustment year until players get experience. Possibly, but I'll tell you what, the transfer portal and everything that goes along with that, knowing that Signetti is going to be here, that all makes a huge difference in convincing guys that Indiana is a place that you could come, that you could win, and you could be successful right away. And the Hoosiers have done a great job of identifying that talent. And then you throw in the fact that guys uh, are developing along the way that are in, backup roles this year that they're going to be able to be plugged in. But I'm worried about next year. That's where we are with this. We know Sig's going to be the head coach. I love that we don't have to answer the question about if he's going to be here next year. And I love the fact that Indiana has uh, just has so much going in a positive direction, a path to 12-0. Come Monday afternoon, they should be the number 2 team in the country, and they can continue their pursuit of this special year. Well, I think that'll just about do it for us today. 38-13 is your final. The Hoosiers dominate Michigan State from the second quarter on, crushed them defensively, just left them demoralized to the point that Michigan State, within the last minute of the game, I think, with 33 seconds left on the clock, they kicked the field goal just to cover. That they just wanted to get a couple of points. That's how much Indiana demoralized and took home the old brass spittoon for the second straight year as well, which is no small thing. Michigan State has owned that trophy. Indiana got the job done. And again, all of the belief, I truly believe that all of the belief from the players to Curt Signetti started last year in the Michigan State game last year when Indiana fell behind 10-0 and then ran off what how many straight points did they scored a ton unanswered. I know that, and dominated. And ever since then, anything that he tells you 47 unanswered points after falling behind 10-0 last year in East Lansing. At that point, you have to believe everything that that man has to say. Well, that's all the time we have for the Peegs post-game live. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting like Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time, but for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for listening, everybody.